We are about to interview a former managing director and chief executive of a IT firm which was founded in 2008 and now employs over 200 employees. In the last decade, he gained much traction in the public speaking forum through his creativity and storytelling ability. He has now embarked on a radically different path through humanitarian projects in uplifting the societal status. We have with us Mr. Peter de Almeida. So thank you, Mr. Almeida, for taking your valuable time in being with us here today. So to start off, you have four saints watching over you. Would you mind sharing us the story behind it?
Well, my father, I had no say in my name, as you can imagine. My father was a very conservative Catholic, and I came from a family of 11 children. I was the youngest. He was 60 when I was born. So now I'm 61 and I'm become a grandfather. But he was becoming a father at 60. So then, being a conservative Catholic, I think there was that practice. They gave lots of names, like you said. If one saint doesn't look after, someone else will. So they didn't want to take a chance, I think. So all of us had many names. All my brothers and sisters had more than three, at least three, if not four names. So he must have thought that the more names he gives me, the better Christian I'll become. Uh, just to complete the story about my family, so 11 children, and my father died when I was 4. Only my eldest sister was married. So there were 10 children, my mother 11, my grandmother 12, and my father was a very generous man. He had two cousins also staying with us. And when he died, I was 4, as I said, no income. So now what? So two of my sisters and my eldest brother, they had to give up their ambitions to go to university and higher studies and all, and they had to go to work to support the family. So that's how we grew up, very limited means we had. In fact, even when I started earning, my first job was at State Bank of India. I would bring the packet days to give the salary uh, in an envelope, not like you now, Warren. You get it credited to your account. I got 465 rupees and put in an envelope, and then we give the entire salary to my mother, all of us. Then from her we ask every day for lunch and bus fare and all that. Because that was the idea of collectively contributing to sustain the family. So that was a good practice. You get a sense of how to, you know, collectively survive.
So, Mr. Almeida, your full name goes as?
Joseph, Philip, Peter, Julian.
Moving forward, can you tell us about your journey towards becoming a successful entrepreneur and a leader?
Now, I never set out to be an entrepreneur like that, I never had a career. I just let my life determine my career. I never set out to be anything. So after A levels, I joined the bank. I was at State Bank of India. Before that, I worked for a very short time in a union called the Ceylon Mercantile Union, working directly for a veteran trade union leader called Bala Tampo. He had a big influence in my life. He was a socialist, a humanist, but well read, very interesting. I'm so happy. At 15 years, I came under his influence. So anyway, so banking. But the reason I did banking was because I wanted to do trade union work. So even in the bank, I was at 19 years, I was the youngest. When as I joined, I became the president of the State Bank of India branch of the Ceylon Bank Employees Union, which was a big, powerful, independent trade union, not politically aligned. And then at 22, I became the treasurer of the Ceylon Bank Employees Union, 16,000 strong, like I said. I think I'm the youngest office bearer of a national union. And then my life just went on. So I never set out to be an entrepreneur as such. So I just went along. So this and my friend started an IT company called East West Information Systems. I was involved. This was the first IBM distributor in Sri Lanka. This was in 1985 or something like that. And then I helped to do the business plan, but I didn't join him. Then later I got a little disillusion with the union and banking and all that. Then I joined him as the sales manager, became marketing. I ran that business. Then I went to another IT company. because they launched a whole new type of computing in Sri Lanka called open computing, which has now become the standard. So I went to head that. And I went along, did some other work with a multinational in Sri Lanka. Then they posted me in India. Then I gave it up. And I came back and joined a video production company. I set up a company with two other friends, video production, making TV commercials and documentaries and all that. Then the company that had started that open systems got acquired by no another Tony Veerasinghe came and made it Millennium Information Technologies. So he invited me to join him. I joined there, and I went along like this, And then I left that, started Enable. Now I left Enable, and now I'm doing some social work, but we'll come to that later. But leader, I don't know, maybe I was influenced by my mother without subconsciously, without thinking about it. Because she led this family, and she was a housewife. Now, left in a situation like this, she must have shown remarkable leadership capabilities to organize. But in answer to your question, I just went along. I didn't have a career, so I just only thing is whatever I did, I put everything into it, everything into it. So whether it be trade union work or bank clerk or video production or IT, I go 100%. And I think I try to find out more about what I'm doing. I think maybe that's what kind of led me from being an employee to finally starting, Enable and running it and all that.
Going back in past, were there any significant milestones or any significant decisions that you had to make that led you to this point you are today?
I think more than decisions, I think not making decisions is a key thing. You don't look at, if I said banker, just because I joined a bank, I don't have to think, now you're a banker now. Now probably rest of your life you'll be a banker. Hope not, right? I'm saying just because you started in banking does not mean your whole life is banking. So I didn't make a decision to pursue banking for the rest of my life. So by not making those decisions so early, I kept myself open to do whatever that came my way. So I only thing is I use my core skills, capabilities to do that. And I don't know whether we have a discussion around that about qualities. I mean, I think the two qualities that I have is I'm creative. So I always try to, and I have a sense of imagination. So with imagination and creativity, I'm also curious. I'm intensely curious. I like to find out why. Even when I was a bank clerk, I would find out. They put me in the foreign currency banking unit. First time they started that in Sri Lanka. I was selected. I was only 1 year in the bank. But a new unit, they selected me because I wanted to find out more about it. So I think that's what not making decisions about my career is one of the reasons why I came to this. So I always picked one and just went along with it.
In your opinion, what are the key values that a leader should possess, and how he or she should encourage his or her followers to unleash their full potential?
I think, like I said, slightly alluded to this earlier, a leader needs to inspire people. Neither, I mean, you need a leader when things are not going well. I mean, if things are going well, you don't need a leader. You just go. For cricket match, if everybody's playing well and you scored 10 goals, you don't need a leader. So I think leadership mostly is in time of difficulty, in time of uncertainty. So at that point, what do you expect of a leader? To inspire his people and to say, look, don't worry, we'll get there. So then everybody is around you and they're inspired to do something to pull yourself out of a difficult situation. So that's one. And I find that that's an important quality of a good leader. And it differentiates a leader from a manager. Managers are managing people. Leaders inspire others. And secondly, one of the problems I saw even in my team at Enable, they are not able to see possibilities. A leader should be able to be more than others, to see a possibility. Now, I'll give you an example. Now at Enable, about 4 years ago, we had a planning session, a strategic planning session. So we told people to bring data and to present their story. So one guy brought a data from banking. He said 9 banks in Sri Lanka have approved budgets of 30 billion rupees for IT. I got a shock. I said, say that again. He said 30 billion. I said, you're sure? Yes, approved budgets for ICT. All of ICT, applications, network, everything. So I said, wait a minute. Suppose, how many people can go after this business in Sri Lanka? So they said 3, 4. I said, okay, 10 people, 3 billion rupees. That time we were doing top line of 2.5 billion rupees. So immediately I saw a huge possibility. Based on that, made some investments. At that time, we were doing $150,000 GP, gross profit. When I left in December, we had a pipeline of $54 million top line, GP of $6.5 million. So 150 to 6.5, how many times is that? So those are the two things. Inspire and see possibilities for others to say, let's go after this.
Disruption and sustainability. How would you put those two words in today's context? And as MBA students, how should we be geared towards those two?
Now, these are the two words that will keep most CEOs awake at night if they are thinking about their business long term. Disruption is all around us, right? Every business is getting disrupted. And the thing about disruption is that it's not coming from your regular competitors. You're a banker. Your bank won't disrupt, other banks won't disrupt your bank because they are so comfortable. So they won't disrupt. Disruption inevitably comes from somewhere you have never even thought of. Now take Paytm in India. It's a telephone reloading company, right? Today they are a bank. Paytm, have you heard of Paytm? So telephone reload, you go and put up 10, 20 rupees, 50 rupees, 100 rupees, you get a reload in India. Today they have 225 million customers. Only this. State Bank of India, where I used to work in Colombo, mother of all banks, great Indian bank, our building in Sri Lanka was a huge bloody building. Now they have 220 million customers. But the difference between State Bank of India and Paytm is State Bank has 30,000 branches and about 60,000 ATMs. Paytm, 0 branches, 0 ATM. Who will win the game long term? So disruption is coming from the banking, not from a bank, from a telephone recharge, reloading company. Would they have expected that? No. That is disruption. Because you're serving a group of customers, right? The disruptor doesn't start with your customer. Paytm went after the small guys, the chai wala, the fellow who sells tea, small time, 10 rupees, 50 transaction. So you're a big bank. I say that fellow is not serving my customer. Little by, so your graph is here, you're serving here. He starts here. Little by little is creeping up to your customer. When it reaches and your customers start changing, too late. That's why you call it disruption. Now Kodak and Nokia and all that, those stories. Because they are not keeping an eye, they are complacent. That is why we are very attuned to see who will disrupt. So today now, auto industry, self-driving cars are not coming from car manufacturers. So second thing is sustainability. As a result, you can't sustain your business. That's the one thing that used to keep me awake. How the hell do I sustain this? There are people working for you. So how do I sustain the business into the future? So we always thought when we did our strategic planning, let's think about what the future will look like. And we never took it for granted that this business will sustain forever. The one lesson in sustainability is do not think that your past success will ensure success into the future. That's the time you are the greatest risk of completely going bankrupt. Now, Jeff Bezos, Amazon. I am no great admirer of Jeff Bezos. It's a different matter. That's not for us to discuss here. He talks to his employees and he's saying, I don't know if they have the quote here, he says, one day Amazon will go bankrupt. He's not saying might go, will, will go bankrupt. So these two things, if you get in the minds of MBA students now, what is disruption, and really understand the examples of disruption, how it's caused, what happens, and focus on sustainability. Now companies are focusing on earnings, profits. Most companies, 99 out of 100 will focus only on earnings. Everybody knows that if you focus only on earnings, you will destroy long-term shareholder value. You take any business book, you Google and see, will earnings only destroy long-term shareholder value? You will find all the answers. Yet companies are focused only on earnings. That's why they can't sustain themselves into the future, because they are not making those investments that will ensure their future, and more important, not letting go of businesses that are dying, and they're holding on, putting more money here instead of there. When this dies, you're wasted all your money. So these, I'm glad you put these two words. Give your mind to this and read and find out and find examples of companies that are, really grappling with these two, because one is connected to the other. If you get destroyed, if you get disrupted, your sustainability is. And to be sustainable, you have to disrupt other people and disrupt yourself. How many companies are ready to do that? Particularly if something is making them profits today, they will never disrupt it. But the brave companies know, we are making profits today, but this is not the future. Let's quietly exit this business. Let's quietly kill it. They'll never do that. When they try to do it, it's too late. Like Nokia. Kodak knew about digital cameras. Not that they didn't know. They knew it. They didn't make the change because this was making enough money for them.
This is a bit funny question. Suppose if Juan and I come for an interview where you are heading the panel, how can we impress you, and what are the qualities that you look in the candidate?
Now, why is it a funny question? Just because two of you are coming. Okay. So what I look for is, can this person tell me a story about themselves? We never look at the certificates. We don't expect them to carry certificates. We don't care about your clothes. I don't make any judgment based on what you're wearing. I make zero judgment based on that. And there are people IT who have come. I mean, if somebody came in a pair of rubber slippers, I would think, I say, this fellow. But once I start talking to him, and if he's giving me a good story about himself, I don't care about his rubber slippers. I can talk to him later about it when he's going to see customers, all that. So my point is, I am not interested in your qualifications at all. You may have got a first class upper. That's why all my interviews I used to have outside. So if you came, you wouldn't have come to office. I would have met you at Dilma Tea Lounge or somewhere, always over a cup of tea, because then you're comfortable. And I always start with your school. That's the life that you're comfortable with. Then I say, so tell me about your school life and your childhood and what was it like, and just to make them comfortable. Then I'll see whether they've done something other than their studies in school. That's not, are they just bloody poteguras? I just studied and got through the exam. So we look for. But some of them have done good work. Unfortunately, they are mumbling. And when you probe more and more, it comes out. So you have to be patient. That's why interviewers must be trained, because they are making decisions. The first 5 minutes, they are making a decision. So I have trained myself, don't make any judgment for at least 20 minutes. Whatever he says, he or she says, don't judge. Keep asking questions, and invariably, suddenly the whole damn conversation changes. Not always. Sometimes it's a dead end. Suddenly you find they're starting to bring out things that they were didn't. So storytelling. You have to come and impress me, if at all, with your story. Here's what I've done, here's what I do. So life is not a linear progress. I went to this job and this job and this job, and no. It's a collection of unrelated stories that you're putting together to talk to me about yourself as a person and your capabilities. And we also see whether you can solve a problem, you know. So we try to, in a roundabout way, if it's a software, then ask give you a problem and tell you to write code. I mean, if you're going for a job as a chef, they'll ask you to cook a meal, no? And finally, I say, have you got any questions? More than 50%, no questions. I say, you get a chance to talk to the CEO in the company you're going to join, and you don't have a single question. That's our education system. Prashna hada denne.
We always brag about success, which eventually can lead to complacency as well. Was there any point of time where you were punched down on the ground, or was there any challenge that you faced, a major challenge? And how did you overcome such a challenge to come to this point you are today?
You know, the funny thing is, and please don't think I'm being arrogant or anything like that. You know, I mean, I was born, from the day I was born, it was a challenge, you know, in my family from the time my father died. So we never saw things as challenges. You know, I don't know what it is. I never thought, oh my God, this is a big challenge, because I thought challenge is part of life. You know, for me, it was ordinary. Not to have a challenge would be a luxury, you know. I mean, in your life, is there a time when you can say no, unless you are not interested in your life, then you don't see the challenges. But living is a challenge, you know, every day there'll be something. So if you start looking at it, my God, this is a big challenge, then it's a different matter. But in business, in life, you're thrown, something is thrown at you. Like my father dying, it was a challenge for my mother. So she didn't buckle down and die. She found a way, then everybody helped. So I never saw things, but I've had difficult times now. When I was at Millennium, once half the sales team left, including my own nephew, because some guy came, Sri Lankan guy, who turned out to be a fraudster. In fact, he had put money in one of the provincial teams. That day, the provincial cricket game. So he said, I'm sponsoring a team. That fellow gave half the money. They didn't even have money to buy their uniform for the match, for the kit. So this fellow came, he came and stayed at the Jai Hilton, lavishly said. Our bloody idiots went there. And he said, I paid double the salary and all. 10 of them left, including my own nephew. Now what? So, so Tony B, the singer, was the head of Millennium IT. He came charging. Peter, I said, these fellows are leaving. I said, so what? I'm here. Just like that. He pulled together the rest and said, okay, now we are there. And some good fellows were there. I said, guys, he can't pay double and survive. Impossible. The industry cannot. And what is he going to do so differently? Company never started. Then, when we started Enable in 2008, we had a plan, business plan. Hemas put money based on the business plan. And the business plan, one of the big projects was Dialogue. The big project. It was about a $5 million project. I hired some engineers also, keep the eye on that. I knew I can win that. 5 minutes. So Hema was also very happy. 2008-9 March, Dialogue went from 10 billion profit to zero. Next year they went from 0 to 10 billion loss. Name graph. Now what? We have started the company. Some fellows have come from top companies, IBM, all that. So what? So changed the business plan and went after a completely different technology and celebrating now that 5 million deal. If somebody brings a purchase order for $1,000, we would clap. Only 12 of us, no? And we hug in and I say, Machan, near mine. So you have to be able to adapt to, so, you know, we just went along, but you have to constantly find a way out of it.
We learn in our textbooks about strategy and business development plans. Are you a firm believer on having a formal document as a strategy, or are you a person who just adapts to the situation on the go?
It's both. It's both. Because a big mistake that companies are making when they say strategic plan, they are a lot of them are focusing on how to make the present a little better. Now, I came across this Vijay Govindarajan. He's a professor at Harvard and Dartmouth College in the US. It resonated with my own idea. He says strategy is all about creating the future. Managing the present is not strategy. So he says take everything that you're doing today and put them into three boxes. All the work that you're doing today. Say the three most important work that you do today that's taking up most of your time. Write it on three pieces of paper. And there'll be three boxes to put it. One is the work that you're doing to manage the present. Then the next box is selectively forget the past. And the next box is creating the future. So now I spoke at Bodyline recently. They are trying to improve their process. All that is managing the present. Very few companies are focusing on work that will create the future. Strategy is all about creating the future. Managing the present, you can call it whatever you want. That's not strategy. People are mixing it up. So we are very focused on creating strategy, which will include selectively forgetting the past. What are we going to let go? So yes, we do that kind of planning, and we do it intensely. Last year we had 2,500 man hours of planning. 60 people, we are a company of 250 people, 60 people went outside, inside, almost 3,000 man hours of planning. All about creating the future, not, they're improving a little bit what we are doing today. So good discussion. But we don't write it down in a big document and publish it in a book and turn the pages every day and look at it. So we know out of that. Here's the key focus. But ready to change it as the situation develops. Yes, we have a vision and direction for the future, near-term future. We also know that if it's necessary, we'll change it.
This is a unique session that we came out with, and we would like to call it the random fire round. So we would throw in a few words where, based on your experience, we would like to describe those words within 2 to 3 sentences.
First to go with education.
Education. Education is not learning. Right? People think that if you educate, you learn. That's not true. Particularly in our education system, education does not equal learning.
Next is technology and innovation.
Should serve humanity. There's no point in technology and innovation if it is going to make Jeff Bezos a billionaire, or Satya Nadella or any one of these fellows, just to make them billionaires and not pay their taxes and not do something for humanity. So technology and innovation should serve the greater good of man.
Creativity.
So creativity is killed, sadly, by our parents and by our schools.
Risk taking.
Not taking a risk could be the riskiest move in your life. Not taking a risk could be the riskiest move that you make.
How about change?
Is all around us. It's inevitable. And yet it's the most difficult thing for us to do.
And finally, humanity.
I think humanity should be at the center of everything we do. There's no point in being a successful person unless you're putting humanity at the center of everything. And humanity is what? Humanity has two meanings, right? One is humanity means a collection of everybody, the planet, all the people living on earth is humanity. Are we concerned about other people, humanity? And also humanity is qualities. Yes, qualities of humanity, loving kindness. So those are the things that should guide our life. Not so much business success and MBA and all well and good, but all that. So in short, humanity should be at the center of our life and our purpose.
You have had a very eventful career. So what are your current plans and what will be the future plans? In simple terms, what more we can expect from Peter Dialman?
Okay. So I just resigned from Enable in December, and I thought I should now dedicate the rest of my life to trying to bring about some social change. So I've taken on the role of running an institution called the Sarvodaya Institute for Higher Learning. Our purpose is to let that SIHL, Sarvodaya Institute of Higher Learning, become a center for training and leadership that's rooted in the community. So leaders who are community conscious, not these MBA and that there are other things that do that not that kind of leader, but and and to try and see whether we can inspire young people to find solutions, to generate solutions for the many unprecedented challenges faced by humanity and the planet. For example, now the Kalani Ganga is dying of pollution. It's the second longest river and it's just dying, and nobody seems to care. So, you want to bring young people and get them to use their talent, their skills, their learning to be leaders of communities and to solve problems of the communities. So that's what I'm going to do in the near future, the foreseeable future.
In addition to the role of an entrepreneur, you have another role that is acting. So, how did acting come to your life, and what was the entry path? And apart from acting, what are the other hobbies that you are keen?
I don't know, like my story about my always leading, I always found myself acting also from the time I was small. And my parents also, not parents, my father died. They used to encourage us to sing and perform from the time I was small. I enjoyed it and they encouraged it also. So as to act various things, little, things. From the time I was 6, 7. So I think I just found acting to be quite natural. And then somebody came and asked me to do a small part. There was a play called Mihi Katage Daru. You all might not remember. Dhamma Jagoda, very famous stage actor. He had tried a few people for that part. He had already filmed and he was not happy. And he came one day and said, Peter, so I played the part in that. It was quite an important role. And then, others found me discovered. I was also in English theatre. I used to do plays at the Lionel Went. And
One question that I think everyone who is watching this video would be keen and interested in finding out is whether we can expect another spectacular role like Mr. Maldini in the Kumbio season in the near future.
I don't know whether there'll be a season 2, whether there'll be a role for me, and if something exciting, interesting comes up, maybe I'll find some time to do it, but nothing specific.
The outside world sees you as a very humble and a simpler person. How would you describe yourself?
I wouldn't ever describe myself. That's for other people to tell, what they feel about me. I can't, describe myself to you, and I, I wouldn't do that. I think it's for others to say what they see in me rather than for me to tell people, here is who I am. And it's for them to see me for what I am.
On an ending note, what would be your advice to the future budding entrepreneurs and the leaders? As in order to overcome the challenges in this dynamic business environment?
I think the one quality that will really help as we face a very uncertain future. The world is changing so much. Technology is driving change. The environment is, driving change. So I think the one quality, if I am to pick, that will help someone to be a good leader, entrepreneur will, maybe also entrepreneur, is to be humble. Because if you're humble, two things will happen. One, you don't think you know it all, because you can't know it all, because there's so much changing. So you're open, so once you know that, you can learn. So if you're humble, you learn from anybody. You don't only learn from your peers, you go down to people and learn from them. So humility is a very important quality in a very dynamic change, because you don't know it all. And that's, I think, a very good quality to learn from anyone. So to answer your question, I would like to say advice, but if I were to share my whatever I have learned, I think humility. It's good for you, for as a leader. It's good for you as a human being also.
So that brings the end of our session. It was a very thought-provoking session, I would say, and we learned a lot. And I'm sure it would benefit the whole MBA batch who will be viewing this video. So we thank you, Mr. D. Almeida,
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have been here.
for sacrificing your valuable time to being here and educating us. And it was certainly a wonderful session. We learned a lot, and we are in depth, and we are very heartfelt to the knowledge that you shared upon us. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. Good questions. It's a learning for me as well. So thank you for that. Thank you, and I wish you good luck and all the best to you and your team here. Just not a qualification. Don't think of the MBA. I got through my MBA, but how can I apply at least one or two things? And when you're studying for the MBA, start thinking of application. Any lesson, see how do I apply it? How do I apply it? So have that curiosity and creativity to apply the learning. Otherwise, your MBA will just be a paper qualification, and there are thousands of people doing MBA today. So see how you can get something more out of the time and money that you're spending on this program, and I wish you all the very best.